The story begins in a city destroyed by monsters. A wounded man was kneeling on the ground while staring at the gigantic monster right in front of him. The monster charged at him, and he screamed in fear of death. 5 days later, this news was announced on the radio, and it was highlighted that it was a large-scale beast horde attacked Sector C4. The reporter said that the outside world has been completely cut off since the second day. Recently, a guild named Dawn Guid has deployed cultivators from other sectors, totaling 75 people, and they have all entered Sector C4. A group of 5 cultivators were continuously fighting against the beasts using their different weapons and abilities. While fighting, the leader proclaimed that this year's trainees seemed quite competent. She was staring at our main protagonist, Chu Mingxuan, a guy with black hair holding a sword as his weapon. He was currently facing a single first-grade magical beast, and did his best fighting with it. He was swinging his sword, but the beast always blocked his attack using its mouth. The beast jumped toward him while roaring. He grits his teeth, and he is sweating heavily. The beast's blood splattered as it turned out he managed to hit it while it was biting his arm. The beast died because of Mingxuan alone. The leader then thinks Mingxuan is quite decisive, but for her, Mingxuan is still too weak. After the monster was wiped out, she then commanded her comrades to assemble. She asked them about their first real combat experience, since these 4 cultivators were all newbies. Wang Chong, a warrior D-rank awakened, replied that the beast horde was nothing. The ranger behind him, Li Jiwei, a D-rank awakened, also said that the beast horde was easier than he imagined. The leader then told them not to get cocky, as she knew that the horde only retreated. According to her, those horde monsters they faced were just a few stray low-grade demonic beasts, and she believed that her companions wouldn't last a minute if they happened to encounter a real beast horde. After explaining, she asked Mingxian if he was fine, and Mingxian replied yes. However, the lady beside him touched his arm and said he was injured. This lady is a D-rank awakened elementalist, Mu Xiaoxue. She was worried for Mingxian, so she suggested bandaging his wound so it wouldn't get infected. Since Mingxian was injured, Chong belittled him by saying he was such a deadweight and shouldn't be a full member of the Dawn Guild. Now that their team has explored most of their assigned area, the leader concludes there shouldn't be any more danger, so she orders Xiaoxue and Mingxian to stand by while the 3 of them will complete the remaining exploration. She, together with Chong and Jiwei, then went to the other side of the area. Mingxian and Xiaoxue just sat on the shattered wall, and lucky for Mingxian that the lady helped him put a bandage on his wound. Mingxian suddenly apologized to the lady for holding her back earlier, but he suddenly moaned in pain since Xiaoxue tightened the bandage and said, "Still able to yell like that? Seems like you're all right." After putting a bandage on Minghuan's wound, Xiaoxue puts her things back in her bag and asks Mingxian why he wants to join Dawn. Mingxian thought it was a bit presumptuous to the lady, and he admitted he didn't have the strength, but he had his own reason. It turned out his sister had severe head injuries, and as per the doctor, it was a miracle that the kid was still alive. It's just that Mingxuan's sister was comatose. Of course, he asked the doctor if there was still a way to wake his sister up, and the doctor said it was difficult because of the current medical technology they had. The doctor advises him to be prepared for the possibility that his sister might remain in a vegetative state. However, if a high-ranking healer awakened from the Dawn Guild and was willing to help, there might be a silver hope. Because of the advice from the doctor, Mingxian decided to join the guild for the sake of his sister Qianqian. He promised his sister he won't never give up to help her regain consciousness. That is the time he becomes eager to join the Dawn Guild to find the best healing to awaken and cure his sister. Back to the present time, the 3 cultivators still roaming around, but as per the leader, there is no sign of magical beasts or even survivors, which makes the area look like a wasteland. At this moment, she feels something is off. She had a nagging feeling since earlier. This damned place, aside from a few low-grade magical beasts at the beginning, there isn't even a single bone, Chong uttered. The lady agreed with him, and she was confused knowing that they should have found bodies even if there were no survivors, but there was nothing. She panicked as she concluded that there might be a higher-grade, mid-grade, or even high-grade magical beast hiding in this place. She suddenly ran while telling her 2 comrades that they should go back to Mu Xiaoxue and Chu Mingxian as soon as possible. She was worried that both Xiaoxue and Mingxian would now be in danger if her conclusion was right. Mingxian and Xiaoxue were still talking about their reasons for joining the guild. Xiaoxue felt envious of Mingxian for his conviction, which she didn't have, and she stated that she didn't have such a strong desire to join the guild. If a powerful demonic beast really appeared in front of me, I'd probably be too scared to move, she uttered without knowing that a demonic beast was right behind her. She slowly moved her head around and was scared when she saw the beast herself. Mingxian pushed her away upon seeing she was in danger. The beast bit Mingxian and swallowed him alive. Xiaoxue saw it with her own eyes how Mingxian disappeared, and only his cut arm was left. The beast's attention went back at her, but she was unable to move because she was scared. At this moment, Mingxian was inside the beast's tummy. He was still alive, but he felt so much pain. He also noticed it was very stuffy, and he instantly recalled he was eaten by a magical beast. As he looked below him, he saw dead humans, and he wondered if he would also become like them. He started to become hopeless and suddenly remembered his sister. The doctor's diagnosis of his sister was also recalled in his mind. He started to cry while thinking about his sister's face. Fortunately, his eagerness came back. He pulled the sword he saw from the dead human and told himself he could not die in a place like this. Surprisingly, a system window appeared, congratulating him for meeting the transfer condition. The system transfer was successful and Mingxuan's status has been restored. Mingxian was speechless upon knowing that his strength had come back. He didn't know what was happening, but he was sure this was a huge help for him. The beast right now was ready to swallow Xiaoxue. It widely opened its mouth, and the lady screamed in fear while covering her face with her hands. However, the beast passed through her. She turned her head behind, following the beast's head, and saw Mingxian cutting the giant worm's abdomen, saying that he was not easy to digest. Of course, Xiaoxue was very happy to see him still alive. Mingxian then asks for help from her, and she then casts her flame magic and attacks the worm numerous times. However, she noticed that the worm was unharmed. Still, Mingxian commanded her not to stop attacking as he knew that the worm seemed to be injured. Thanks to the system, he saw the giant worm's information. As per the system, the worm right now was exhausted, had its internal organ damage, and was severely bleeding. Its current health is 2,743 left over 12,000, and its mana points are 2,000 over 3,200. While they were fighting with the worm, their companions were watching them. The leader, Meng, couldn't believe that the two newbies would survive, let alone injure the magical beast by sheer luck. She also informed her two companions that the materials from a 5th-grade magical beast are worth a fortune, so they shouldn't miss out on the opportunity. Jiwei then asked her what they should do, and Meng then replied they should watch the sidelines. At this point, the system informed Mingxian that the giant worm's HP had fallen below 10%, entering rampage mode. It moved too fast and almost hit Zioax. Mingxian was worried for her and asked her if she was still fine. The lady then replied that she was still okay without knowing that Mingxian was already having a hard time. Mingxian decided to give it all, and since he was already severely bleeding and only had 53 HP left over 150. He commanded Xiaoxue to use most of her powerful attack on him, but Xiaoxue was hesitant and confused. Mingxian then told her not to ask too much and to do what he said. Xiaoxue then activates her magic circle and follows Mingxuan's command. Mingxian was outside the cut abdomen of the worm and gave Xiaoxue a signal to cast her magic. Xiaoxue then attacked using her rotating flame arrow, and the flame headed toward Mingxian, but Mingxian slid downward and let the flame hit on the worm's cut abdomen. The worm was hysterical due to the pain. After just a few seconds, it fell to the ground and was eliminated. Mingxian saw it in his own eyes, but he also passed out. The last thing he saw was the system's notification that he gained 16,500 experience points and leveled up. Meanwhile, in the Vermilion Bird Guild's headquarters, the squad captain, Han Shuja, B-rank spirit speaker awakened, congratulated both Jiwei and Chong for successfully passing the assessment and officially became a member of the squad. Both men were so happy and gave thanks to Shuja. Shuja then told the party leader, Meng Lan, that she did well in leading a group of newbies to take down a 5th-grade demonic beast, which is a truly remarkable achievement. Because of that, she will be rewarded. Shuja also mentioned the other 2 trainees who didn't pass without knowing the truth. Right now, Mingxian is confined in a hospital. He regained consciousness and realized that he survived since he was still alive. However, he saw his cut arm covered with bandages. All of a sudden, Chong and Jiwei came and told him he was a tough one. Mingxian then asked them about Xiaoxue, but the guys laughed and said that Xiaoxue and Mingxian were the same for being useless pieces of trash who barely survived. Chang was holding the squad's medal and proclaimed that Xiaoxue was a mediocre who couldn't make it into the Dawn Guild in the end. Mingxian was confused. Jiwei then said, "Don't be too upset, though. If squad leader Meng hadn't finished off that 5th-grade magical beast, you would be dead. You only lost an arm, so you're lucky." Mingxian fakingly smiled and confidently claimed that he and Xiaoxue were the ones who fought desperately with the worm. Qing went below his hospital bed and said that they helped Meng kill the 5th-grade magical beast. He turned around and walked away while he added, "You were just dead weight. Don't speak out of turn, understand? Trash like you shouldn't dream of rising above your station. Just go back to the junkyard and eat garbage." Mingxian was shaking in anger. He was mad, but then the system window appeared to notify that there was a newbie mission issued. At first, Mingxian was clueless. He recalled that the system window was the one he saw when he almost died inside the worm's abdomen. The title of the mission is the Artificer God's Right Arm. As per the system, it was said that the Artificer God once briefly resided in the mechanical city. The city full of various mechanical soldiers, and among them, it seems to hide the Artificer God's masterpiece. Mingxian was sweating while staring at his arm. He thought that the system indeed held unimaginable power, and knowing that it was not for everyone, he decided to accept the mission. An azure power then appeared and sipped him in. He vanished and dropped somewhere else. He was holding his shoulder while asking where he was. The place is too dark. Only torches give light to it. The system window then poops up and notifies Chapter 1 of the Artificial God's Right Arm mission. It was said in Chapter 1 that the Artificer's God's right arm is hidden deep within the Mechanism City. To complete the mission, Mingxian should survive and reach the city's innermost area. While Mingxian was sitting on the floor, he felt it was shaking. He was startled and screamed the moment he saw a sharp stick come out from it. He avoided it many times, but more of it appeared and almost struck him. "No way," he uttered while staring at the tile shaking. He saw it in his own eyes how the sticks appeared. He flipped to avoid the sticks and catch some of it. He was surprised as he never thought his body felt more agile. He landed on the ground, and he felt nervous when the tile where he was standing was moving, which meant there was more. Then, a huge rock was heading his way. He was sweating in fear and immediately ran away. He screamed so loud, but luckily reached an entrance where the rock couldn't be fitted. "Saved. Finally saved," he uttered while sitting on the floor panting. The system window then appears and notifies that the mission was updated. It is now at Chapter 3. There were coffins in the current place where Mingxian was. The coffins opened, and it turned out that there were mechanical soldiers inside of it. Mingxian should defeat these soldiers slumbering in the area. As per the system, out mechanical soldiers are effortless creations of the Artificer God. Its decrepit state has left it with the strength of only a rank 1 magical beast. Upon knowing that these soldiers were rank 1 magical beasts, Mingxian was still worried since there were a lot of them. He turned his head around and proclaimed that there was no way for him to escape since the retreat was cut off. One skeleton was standing in front of him and raised its weapon while he was still thinking if this would be the end of his life. Mingxian saw the skeleton swinging its weapon and tried to attack him. Fortunately, he managed to move away and jumped back to the skeleton while confidently saying he wouldn't give up until he had healed his sister Qianqian. "I'll take you all done and I'll survive," he screamed angrily. He was able to knock down one of the skeletons, but he was puzzled that he made it so easily, and he wondered when he became this strong. For defeating one skeleton, Mingxian gained 20 experience points. He's currently level 7 with 500 over 500 mental energy, 2% XP, and 1,500 over 1,500 HP. Mingxian was still confused while staring at the system. Even though he doesn't understand why the system suddenly appeared on him, he concludes that constant fighting could make him stronger. He screamed this is what he wanted, and he then charged at the soldiers bravely with the sword he got from the skeleton he killed. He swung his weapon and eliminated numerous soldiers. He was screaming while fighting. He gained 20 experience points every time he killed one skeleton. He easily sliced some of the skeletons until none of the skeletons left. He looked at his experience points and found out that he could have leveled up if there were still a few mechanical soldiers left. The area suddenly shook, and the system notified that the mission information was updated. There was a huge coffin in front of him. As per the system, he's already at the final chapter of the mission, and he has reached the innermost area of the Mechanism City. To complete this mission, Mingxian should defeat the Mechanism Knight guarding the Artificer God's left arm. A strike on the coffin appeared, and the Mechanism Knight that the system was referring to comes out from the coffin. According to the system, it's a worn-out Mechanism Knight. A carefully crafted toy by the Artificer God, but it couldn't withstand the erosion of time. Now it only had the strength of a rank 3 magical beast. Can I take back what I said earlier? Mingxian said hopelessly. He was terrified when the knight made a move and almost hit him. He jumped away while complaining that the enemy was too fast. Now, he was sure he was in danger. The mechanical knight attacks him wherever he goes. He grits his teeth while blocking the attack. He was struggling as he couldn't even find an opportunity to fight back. He wished to have a chance of making the knight slow down. Then he paused as he realized something that could help him. The mechanical knight charged at him and pointed its spear at him. He decided to give it a shot despite being unsure of what would happen. He then bent down and let the mechanical knight pass through him. Still, its horse is still running fast. Mingxian was having a hard time. The horse rises while the mechanical knight casts an attack. It released its attack, and it headed toward Mingxian. The knight also charged at Mingxian. Mingxian fights back. He did the same thing and successfully slashed the horse's leg. Because of it, the horse fell to the ground. Mingxian saw the knight's armor broken. He was wondering if he succeeded in this battle. He then stood and said, "I succeeded. As long as the speed is gone, I still have a chance." He was confused when he saw a purple lightning strike beside his sword. Unfortunately, he was electrocuted. It turned out that the mechanical knight was kneeling on the ground and attacked him. He was screaming in pain. He let go of his sword while he was kneeling on the ground. The mechanical knight walked toward him. He was nervous. As per the system, his current health is 231 over 1,500, and he's currently in paralysis. The mechanical knight pointed its spear at him, but Mingxian deflected its attack. A system notification appeared, stating that Mingxian leveled up to level 8. As a reward, his basic attributes are enhanced, and his status has been restored. Mingxian managed to cut the knight's arm. Another notification popped up. Mingxian learned a new skill, which was a weak point strike. When attacking the opponent's weak point, there is a 50% chance to deal 200% damage. Mingxian gained confidence because of this. He then attacked the enemy and fortunately triggered the weak point strike and dealt 200% damage. He made it several times, which made him feel he could win. At this time, the mechanical knight only had 720 HP left over 5,000. Mingxian was more confident as he felt he got stronger. He jumped toward the mechanical knight and slashed it several times. It fell on the ground headless and armless. The system then notifies that Mingxian successfully killed the mechanical knight's mount and gained 2,500 experience points. Mingxian then laughed in satisfaction and claimed he finally did it. Finally, Mingxian completed the beginner's mission and the settlement started. The shattered parts of the knights flowed above. Mingxian stared at it and straightly saw the knight's arm wrapped with azure light. According to the system, this artisan god's right arm is an upgradable common item, a masterpiece of the artisan god. It is said that those who equip it can bring the artisan god's glory back to the world. Comes with the crafting skill, and it is limited to 3 uses per day. Mingxian was jaw-dropping while staring at the artisan god's right arm. It was floating above him, but it suddenly sprinted to him, which made him startled. The system then notifies that the master of the artisan god's right arm has been recognized. The arm stuck on his shoulder. He was clueless about what was going on. He felt pain, so he tried to pull it away, but he couldn't. He felt dizzy and suddenly passed out. At the same time, the system proclaimed that recognizing the master of the artisan god's right arm was successful. The system also added that the beginner mission has been completed and Mingxian is about to return. Someone then appeared and uttered, "For 117th, I wonder how far you can go." The next day, Mingxian woke up and was panicking. He calmed down when he saw himself in the hospital bed, and he concluded that everything was just a dream. But then, he saw his arm, which was the artisan god's right arm. He was in disbelief, but he was very excited. He was swinging it in happiness, and felt that it was so naturally just like his previous arm. He was teary-eyed while staring at it. His phone below his pillow vibrates, and as he answers the call, he is dumbfounded when he hears that something happened to his sister. At the hospital where Qianqian was admitted, Nurse Lu, the nurse who handled Qianqian, and was also their aunt, was begging the hospital director to be accommodating, knowing that Qianqian had been in their hospital for so many years. However, the director refused since no one paid Qianqian's bill for the month. He proclaimed that their hospital is a fee-charging institution and not a charity. Together with him were 2 officers. He ordered them to carry Qianqian outside, but the nurse tried to stop them. Luckily, Mingxian came. He seemed so tired since he was using the stairs to reach the floor of his sister. He asked them to stop, but the director questioned his identity. He didn't reply, so the director grabbed his shoulder and said, "I ask what's wrong with you. We are dealing with internal affairs." He taught that Mingxian is just an unrelated person to Qianqian. Mingxian side-eyed, and there was something red came out from his eyes. The director was terrified and suddenly fell to the ground. The officers immediately helped him, which gave Mingxian time to go straight to the door of his sister's room. He then gave thanks to his aunt, and the hospital director at the same time stood and asked him if he was the patient's family member. "I'm telling you, we are just following orders. It's you who is behind in your payment," the director added. Mingxian awkwardly smiled while handing over his card and explained that he participated in the Dawn Guild selection, which is why the payment was delayed. The director accepted his card and asked him if he was an elementalist. But then the director didn't wait for his reply and just walked away while reminding him to pay on time next time. Mingxian then gave thanks to his aunt, and his aunt then replied that she knew it wasn't easy for both him and his sister. However, she was worried that he offended the director this time. Mingxian then smiled at him and promised to pay the later bill in time next payment. The night came. Mingxian stayed outside the hospital. He received a notification that his card was deducted 20,000, and he only had a 373.50 balance. Mingxian was devastated and recalled that he had at least received subsidies before as a preparatory member of the Dawn, which was just enough to cover up for Qianqian's nursing expenses. He was thinking of a job that could help him bring money quickly, and he luckily remembered something. He opened his system window to check his stats and concluded that he could now defeat scary monsters since the current him is much stronger than before. He then decided to go to a place where he could try his luck. Meanwhile, he arrived at the Black Street. It is different from official organizations such as Dawn Guild. It issues a private mission and is also a gathering place for an unorganized elementalist. As long as someone has enough strength, they can easily make money in this place. But if they aren't strong enough, they may also lose their life. While walking on the street, Mingxian heard a guy stating that Black Hand Yang with some men was planning to gather some more men to go hunting. Another guy then replied that those guys were seeking death, knowing that Area C had recently been destroyed by a beast tide. Mingxian was listening to their whole conversation, and he was guilty when he heard one of the guys say that there are always some people who value money over their life. A bolder man was in a nearby strait. He asked some volunteers to join their hunting, but no one wanted to join them, knowing that their plan was dangerous. The bolder guy then turned his head and informed their leader, Yang, that they didn't get anyone to join in. Yang then replied it's fine. He concludes that it shouldn't be a big problem if they are more careful despite that they are short of a frontal. He then declared they should depart as he accepted the fact that there were no more people who wanted to join them. As they were about to leave, someone stopped them. They all turned their head around and saw Mingxian asking them to let him join their hunting. The men around see him as weak, knowing that he is a newbie. They were silent for a moment. After a few seconds, they laughed and belittled him. Still, Mingxian confidently moved forward and said, "I wonder how much the reward for this mission is?" The bolder guy was annoyed at him for thinking about the reward. He suddenly charged at Mingxian while saying, "Even a newbie dares to come here. Entertain me a little." Mingxian was nervous at first, but he moved too fast, which surprised his opponent. He grabbed his sword and swung it. He pointed it at the neck of the guy and said, "What's the meaning of this?" The big guy was sweating, and he was still confused about how a newbie could easily dodge his attack. "Good, young and promising. You can join us, little brother," Yang suddenly said. He smiled as he said that he would be discussing the reward. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Till next time.